It was 2012, a video game villain kicked down the door, stole the spotlight, and basically told the hero to take a hike. Vaas Montenegro didn't just change Far Cry 3, he kind of changed everything. I mean, dude basically set the gold standard for bad guys who are way too fun to hate. So, what's the deal with Far Cry 3? Why do people still lose their minds over it, years later? It's not just good, it's kind of diabolical. From head-scratching psychology to a world that feels like it's out to get you, there's layers here. We're talking about twists you missed, stories you lived without realizing, and why you'll never look at an island paradise the same way again. Here's a fun one. Can you name any other game where the villain basically hijacks the entire narrative and shoves the hero off the stage? Seriously, try me. Drop your picks in the comments, because Far Cry 3 is the reference point and I will die on this hill. Reason 1. The villain who stole the spotlight. Alright, picture this, you buy an action game expecting to play the hero, but the villain is so magnetic, you forget the main dude's name. That's Vaas Montenegro. Michael Mando didn't just do crazy, he made you want more of it. Vaas is unpredictable, almost charming, then, bam, he's shoving your head underwater. It's like every time he's on screen, you get this weird thrill and dread at the same time. Ubisoft? They just let Mando riff, and the script sort of bent around him. The wildest part? Vaas wasn't even supposed to be the big bad. He was written as a side piece, but his energy just bulldozed every plan. Sometimes, magic happens when a story gets hijacked by its own chaos. Honestly, most games would clamp down and stick to the outline. Here, they let the storm rage, and it paid off. Vaas wasn't planned to be iconic. He just grabbed the wheel, and nobody dared stop him. Reason 2. The psychology of insanity. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? The most iconic line in the whole franchise. It's a meme for a reason. But it's also way deeper than that. Vaas isn't just talking to Jason, he's talking to you. He's calling you out for grinding the same missions, dying, respawning, and running it all back like a hamster on Red Bull. It's like the game is trolling you for getting stuck in a loop, both in the story and in your own controller habits. Vaas is basically the glitch in the Matrix, reminding you that this cycle is nuts, but you can't stop. There's this meta-genius in how Far Cry 3 uses a villain to break the fourth wall. Most games keep the story and gameplay separate, this one smashes them together, so you start questioning yourself every time you hit continue. Are you chasing progress, or are you just feeding the madness? Far Cry 3 isn't just about insanity, it's about making you complicit in it. Reason 3. A power fantasy while having a psychological breakdown? Here's the kicker, every time you unlock a new skill, it feels great, until you realize what it's doing to you. Jason Brody starts as that basic white guy who can't even hold a gun straight. By the end, he's basically Rambo after a bad acid trip. But the game doesn't give you a high five for the transformation, it makes you feel a little gross about it. You get hooked on the power, but there's this creeping vibe that it's messing you up. Every time you fast travel or slap a silencer on a new gun, it's another step toward losing yourself. The game's trick is sneaky, it gives you the dopamine hit, then makes you wonder if you should have taken it. People think they're playing a power fantasy, but it's more like a slow-motion horror film about your own choices. That upgrade tree? It's a map straight to your own undoing. Reason 4. The island as a character. You ever play an open-world game where the map just feels there? Not here. Rook Island is alive, and not in a friendly way. The jungles are dense and hiding God knows what, the ruins are haunted by bad vibes, and even the deer give you side-eye. Every step feels like a dare. Fast travel? Good luck. You might get mauled by a tiger or step on a snake. The world wants to eat you, and it's not subtle about it. What's wild is, the island tells its own story without a single cutscene. You can just stand there, listening to the wind and the distant gunfire, and feel the history pressing down. You're never really safe, and that tension is always there, making every mission feel like survival horror. It's not a playground. It's a predator. Rook Island doesn't need to talk. Its threats do the talking. Reason 5. The open world, tight narrative. Most open world games let you screw around so much, the story gets lost in the noise. Not here. You can go off the rails, sure. Hunt sharks, race jeeps, set everything on fire, whatever. But the main story? It's got gravity, man. The emotional beats are strong enough to pull you back, no matter how distracted you get. There's this sense that your freedom is real, but the stakes are always lurking. You blow up an outpost, and boom, the story's right there waiting for you. It's a magic trick that most open worlds haven't pulled off since. You feel like a wild card, but the game still lands every punch where it counts. Chaos is fun, but the narrative keeps it from becoming meaningless. Freedom works best when you care about what happens next. Reason 6. The turning point, Buck and the darkness to the story he brings. Remember Buck? God, what a creep. He doesn't just show up, he slams the mood into something way darker. Suddenly, the violence gets personal. The jokes aren't funny anymore. Even Jason looks like he's checked out. This isn't just side content. Buck's missions are like staring into the void and realizing it's staring right back. The game wants you to squirm. It wants you to realize you're not in control. Here's a rupture in the tone, a reminder that the island's worst monsters aren't always waving guns. Sometimes they're just whispering in your ear. It's where the mask slips, and all that hero stuff starts to feel like a bad excuse. Buck's where the game stops pretending you're the good guy. Reason 7. You become the hero you were never meant to be. Here's where it all comes together, saving the day means losing yourself. Jason Brody isn't just surviving, he's getting off on it. The more you win, the more you realize the wins are changing you. The story stops being about rescuing friends, and starts feeling like a test. Do you even want to go back? Every victory, every new toy, every perfectly timed headshot, it's like the island seducing you, and you're starting to like it. Some games pat you on the back for reaching the end. This one just sits you down and asks, so, are you good? Far Cry 3 doesn't want you to save the world. It wants you to question if you're still the person who wanted to. The island doesn't hand you freedom. It rewires your soul. Reason 8. It is an FPS, but also a mind trip. You know how it goes, gun in hand, baddie in your crosshairs, some big talk about revolution. It's the basic FPS starter pack, right? Except Far Cry 3 takes that blueprint and rips it in half. You boot it up thinking you're about to lead a one-man crusade, but about halfway through, it hits you, this isn't your story. It's the islands, and you're just the latest chew toy. Jason's not some freedom fighter. He's a tourist who wandered into a blender and forgot how to get out. The game dangles power in front of you, sure, but every upgrade, every victory, it's just one more step down the rabbit hole. And man, you barely notice the walls closing in. That's the real trick, Far Cry 3 doesn't yank the rug out from under you. It slowly, quietly, swaps it for a trapdoor. You're not liberating the island. The island's liberating you from your own sanity. Forget rescue, this is a straight-up rewire job. Far Cry 3's not changing the FPS formula, it's hacking your brain while you're too busy shooting to notice. Reason 8. It is an FPS, but also a mind trip. You know how it goes, gun in hand, baddie in your crosshairs, some big talk about revolution. It's the basic FPS starter pack, right? Except Far Cry 3 takes that blueprint and rips it in half. You boot it up thinking you're about to lead a one-man crusade, but about halfway through, it hits you, this isn't your story. It's the islands, and you're just the latest chew toy. Jason's not some freedom fighter. He's a tourist who wandered into a blender and forgot how to get out. The game dangles power in front of you, sure, but every upgrade, every victory, it's just one more step down the rabbit hole. And man, you barely notice the walls closing in. That's the real trick, Far Cry 3 doesn't yank the rug out from under you. It slowly, quietly, swaps it for a trapdoor. You're not liberating the island. The island's liberating you from your own sanity. Forget rescue, this is a straight-up rewire job. Far Cry 3's not changing the FPS formula, it's hacking your brain while you're too busy shooting to notice. Reason 9. Guns as a form of therapy? Or a cry for help? Let's talk about that arsenal, because Far Cry 3's gun locker is basically a psychological case study. At first, you're scrounging for whatever you can get, a pistol that jams, a bow that feels more summer camp than Rambo. There's this real desperation, like you're clinging to what's left of your old life. But then, it escalates. Suddenly, you've got a flamethrower, and you're not just surviving, you're enjoying the chaos. The weapons aren't just getting bigger, they're getting meaner, flashier, almost theatrical. It's not about outsmarting the enemy anymore. It's about putting on a show, burning everything just to see what happens. And the game? It's egging you on. Every explosion, every new toy, it's like a pat on the back for losing your moral compass. The more outrageous you get, the more it rewards you. Those tools for survival, they become your favorite instruments of mayhem. Your arsenal's got more secrets than your dialogue ever will. Every weapon's a diary entry, and trust me, it gets darker the further you flip. Reason 10. The sneaky moral gut punch. Here's the thing, you spend 20 hours thinking you're in control, planning your next move. Then the game drops the final choice on you, save your friends or join Citra. On paper, it's just a menu selection, but in reality? It's a moral landmine with your name on it. One path, you're the loyal friend, the good guy. The other, you're a full-blown zealot, sacrificing everything for a cause you barely understand. But the more you look at it, the more you realize the game's been nudging you, seducing you with power, violence, and a sense of belonging. It's not just about which ending you pick. It's about how the game's been softening you up, priming you to want the wrong thing. The choice isn't a fork in the road, it's a mirror shoved in your face, forcing you to look at how far you've fallen. Reason 11. Dennis, a Yoda type of character or cult recruiter. Ah, Dennis. At first, you're thinking, cool, a guide, the Obi-Wan to your Luke Skywalker. He's got the wisdom, the rituals, the whole mystic mentor vibe. But hang around long enough, and you start to get that weird itch, like maybe this guy's not here to help you, but to mold you into something the island can use. He doesn't care about Jason the person. He cares about Jason the tool, the weapon. All that guidance? It's less about growth, more about transformation. By the end, you're not sure if Dennis is your friend, your handler, or just another cog in Citra's machine. It's a bait and switch. You think you're getting a mentor, but you're actually getting a recruiter, someone who sees you less as a person and more as a means to an end. Sometimes, your mentor's just looking for a new tool. In Far Cry 3, trust is just another thing to weaponize. Reason 12. Citra, a queen, siren, or something else. Citra's a walking paradox. Is she a goddess, a revolutionary, a seductress? Trick question, she's all three, and then some. Every time she shows up, you can't tell if she's about to save your soul or eat it for breakfast. Her charisma is nuclear, it lights up the room and blinds you at the same time. She promises freedom, but only if you kneel. She offers purpose, but at a cost that keeps rising. And Jason? He's hooked, completely. You can almost feel the game pulling you into her orbit, making you want to please her, even as your gut screams that something's off. She isn't the villain, not in a cartoonish way. She's something much more dangerous, compelling. That blend of allure and threat is what makes her unforgettable. Citra doesn't conquer you, she lures you in. The scariest leaders don't force you, they make you want to follow. Reason 13. Infinite freedom? Not quite. So you reach the end, and it's time to make the big choice. Stay with Citra or walk away with your friends. On the surface, it's classic video game stuff. But if you're paying attention, you realize the whole thing's been a setup from the start. Citra's ending is all drama, cinematics, emotion, the works. The so-called good ending? It's quick, it's quiet, it's basically an afterthought. The game is practically baiting you, daring you to pick the flashy, wrong option, then judging you for it. It's not just a test, it's a manipulation. That's the real genius, or cruelty, of Far Cry 3. It's not about giving you a choice. It's about making you feel like you had won, while steering you into the arms of the island's madness. The game's biggest trick? Making you think you had a say. The illusion of freedom is the final boss. Reason 14. The Lost Expeditions, the stuff you probably missed. Most folks blow right past the Lost Expeditions DLC, but honestly, they're missing a whole other layer of the story. These abandoned bunkers, littered with dusty files and desperate journal entries, tell you more about the island than any cutscene ever could. There's no exposition dump, no NPC yammering in your ear. Just you, the ruins, and the ghosts of people who came before you, people who tried to fight the island and lost. The silence is heavy, almost suffocating, and it makes you realize how many stories the island's already devoured. Digging through these places, you feel the weight of history. It's not just Jason's nightmare, it's a repeating cycle, and you're just the latest unlucky contestant. The side quests spill the tea the main story won't. Sometimes, the real story is hiding in the shadows, waiting for someone curious, or unlucky enough to find it. Reason 15. Vaas vs. Hoyt, who's the real villain? Let's be real, Vaas is the guy everyone remembers. He's this walking grenade, spitting chaos and philosophy in equal measure. Whenever he's on screen, you're grinning, sweating, or straight up terrified, sometimes all at once. Hoyt, though? People forget him, which is wild, cause he's the shark circling under the water. You don't see him coming, but he's the real threat. That's the genius of it. Vaas is the face, the wild card, the meme machine. Hoyt's not here to put on a show, he's the system that churns out more monsters like Vaas. He's the reason chaos even gets a foothold. In real life, it's rarely the obvious lunatics who do the most damage, it's the cold, faceless machinery of power, the people pulling strings behind the scenes while everyone's distracted by the fireworks. So, when folks say switching from Vaas to Hoyt was a letdown. Now, that's the point, man. It's like the game saying, you thought the psycho was scary? Wait till you meet the guy who made him. It's not about topping Vaas's insanity, it's about showing you where the real evil comes from. Vaas is the explosion, Hoyt's the match factory. Reason 16, a ludonarrative dissonance or masterstroke. Alright, so here's the hot take, everyone loves to dunk on Far Cry 3 for that so-called ludonarrative dissonance. You know, the whole Jason's crying about killing, but I just made him parachute into a camp and go full Rambo. Sure, it looks messy on paper. But honestly, that's what makes it interesting. The game isn't holding your hand, telling you how to feel. It lets you stew in your own confusion. You think you're the good guy, but the more you play, the more you realize you're becoming the thing you're supposed to hate. The dissonance? It's not a flaw, it's a mirror, forcing you to face how quickly a hero can become a monster if you give him enough excuses and a big enough gun. Reason 17. What Far Cry 3 did that sequels couldn't? Look, Far Cry 4, 5, 6, they all tried to one-up the formula. More map, more guns, more chaos. But bigger isn't the same as better, and none of them hit that raw nerve like Far Cry 3 did. There's something gritty about 3, it's not just about mowing down bad guys or collecting random loot. It's about the sick feeling you get when you realize you're having fun becoming a killer. Later games? Polished, sure, but kinda hollow. They lost the psychological twist. Far Cry 3 was like a fever dream that stuck to your bones. It made you question why you were even enjoying yourself, and that's rare as in games. Sometimes you need to dial it back, focus up, and let the story breathe. Far Cry 3 nailed that. The sequels, for all their shiny toys, just couldn't recapture that unhinged magic. No amount of collectibles can replace a story that gets under your skin. Reason 18. The legacy, how Far Cry 3 changed gaming forever. Far Cry 3 didn't just change the series, it flipped the whole genre on its head. Before Vaas, how many first-person shooter villains actually stuck with you? Most of them were just angry warlords or cardboard cutouts barking orders. Suddenly, every game wanted a crazy villain that stole the show, thanks to Far Cry 3. But it wasn't just about the villains. It was the vibe, messy, uncomfortable, impossible to pin down. The marketing went viral, the story got under your skin, and even now, you see echoes of that DNA everywhere, from Red Dead Redemption 2's complicated heroes to all those games desperate for their own iconic antagonist. It proved you could make players squirm, make them think, and still make a blockbuster. That willingness to lean into discomfort, to let things get weird and personal, that's the legacy. Far Cry 3 didn't just break the rules, it made everyone else rewrite theirs. Far Cry 3 wasn't just another shooter, and it sure as hell wasn't safe. It was a messy, beautiful, violent reflection of all the weird stuff that happens when you push people to their limits. It made you question your choices, root for villains, and maybe, just maybe, wonder if you were the real monster all along. And you know what? It's only gotten more legendary as the years roll by. The shadow it casts is long, man, games are still trying to catch up. So if you're down for more games that change the conversation, stick around. Next time, we're cracking open another title that didn't just play by the rules, it threw M out the window. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.